Yeah, welcome everyone to the Ubuntu Community Q&A. I'm joined by a bunch of lovely gentlemen today who are going to introduce themselves in just a bit. And yeah, this is UOS, the Ubuntu Online Summit. We just had a brilliant introduction to the event. There's loads happening, loads of sessions, and yeah, I hope that the first session already gave you a bunch of questions because we're here to answer them. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Excellent. Yes, thanks, Daniel. I was just playing with the lower third, that you guys know who we all are. All right, I'm Dave Planella. I manage the community, and as I always say, I've got the privilege of working with these wonderful people, both canonical employees and community volunteers who are all part of the wide Ubuntu community. As usual, if you guys have heard questions, just let us know by presenting your actual question with the word question. Today we're running a bit of a different Q&A. As Daniel was saying, we're at the Ubuntu Online Summit, so we're not at the regular IRC channel, although we're probably watching both, to be honest, meaning that we're not on Ubuntu-on-air, but we are on the yes, we are on the Ubuntu-UOS-community channel. All right then, back to the next participant. I saw David unmuting, so perhaps you want to go next.
Sure. Hi everyone. So I'm David Calais, and I work on the Ubuntu community team. Which is a very rewarding experience. It's very cool to work with these guys. And that's pretty much it. Marius, you go next.
Yeah, I am doing or started the UB Ports project, and I'm Marius Kepsgaard. So I'm what they call the porter guy.
Excellent. Right. Marius, and I think you've got some session to at this US as well, right?
Yes, I have the Ubuntu Touch porting session where we're going to discuss how to make porting easier and how to make the documentation better and future of UB ports.
Excellent. Is it today or tomorrow? Need to check the schedule.
It's today, right after lunch.
Perfect. All right then. Toby, can you tell us who you are for those who don't already know you?
Hello, I hope you can hear me. My name's Alan, and I am a member of the community team at Canonical. Mostly work on core apps, but as with all members of the community team, we get dragged into all kinds of other things as well, including, I don't know, shutting down mailing lists or nuking IRC channels or whatever, I don't know, all kinds of things. But I'm Popey on IRC and Twitter and everywhere else, so you can probably find me easily. Yes. Blame Popey when all else fails.
Brilliant.
All right.
Yeah, so a quick reminder for everyone. If you're on summit.ubuntu.com, you can see the schedule of Online Summit, and there you should also be able to use the chat widget below the video feed, and that's where you can ask questions. If you know how to use a traditional IRC client, you can just point it to Ubuntu-UOS-community. That's where we're hanging out, or as David said earlier, Ubuntu on air, and both channels are on Freenode. It looks like the first question which came in was a bit of a joke question. And does anyone of you know if Vulkan is faster than JavaScript? But maybe,
Well,
maybe we'll all think about it.
It's like
I was trying to unmute myself.
Right, go ahead then.
It depends if it's optimized JavaScript or not. We have an actual question. In the future, developers will have to pay to upload apps to the store, which has been asked by Ivo Javier. Who wants to take this one?
I'm not aware of any plans up to make you pay. So on at least one other platform, you have to pay to get the development kit. That may have changed recently, but I haven't downloaded the Apple Xcode and SDK and stuff. But it certainly used to be the case that you had to pay like $99 a year or something to get all the necessary tools. And all our stuff is available. You know, install Ubuntu, apt-get, install stuff. It's all like free software. So no, we don't make you pay for the SDK. As far as I'm aware, there's no plans to make developers pay to upload stuff to our store. You can upload free stuff to the store, and you can upload stuff that you want to charge for the app itself. There are some paid apps in the phone store. I have a couple of paid apps on my phone. Not many, because there aren't a huge number of paid apps, but I have a couple of paid apps on my phone. I'm just trying to find them. One of them is Cut the Rope, and I think I paid for Riddling, which is a quiz game thing. We also have the ability to do in-app purchases on apps on the phone. So if you want to have a base game, for example, and have extra levels that people pay for, then you could do that too. But as far as I'm aware, there's no plan to make you pay for stuff that you would normally expect to be free. I hope that answers your question.
One thing to mention as well, and related to that, just as Bobby was saying, essentially, but just to complement, I know that paid apps support is coming to the store soon. It will be available as an SRU in Ubuntu 16.04. In terms of paying or what developers will have to pay, I think, well, we'll need to check that. So take this with a pinch of salt. But generally, in the past, with the old Debian-based store, the amount that you had to, the amount that Canonical took as the distributor of the apps was 20%, where 80% was for the developer in terms of getting the payments, which I think at the time was a generous cut already. But yeah, we'll let you know as soon as we're ready to land this. We'll make sure that developers have all the information that they need to know what it takes to make to upload paid-for apps to the store.
Cool. The next question was from Tiny Banana. Who bought a Pro 5 Ubuntu edition? And if any, how is it?
I did.
Toby raising his hand. Go ahead then.
I don't know. It hasn't arrived yet. I only ordered it last week. But I have. So last week I was at a sprint in Prague with the desktop team and the shell team and a bunch of designers who are working on lots of things for Ubuntu for the next few months. And I arrived on the first night, and the first thing I did was dump all my bags in the hotel and head straight to the bar where everyone else already was, because I arrived a bit late. And pretty much the first thing that happened is someone handed me a Pro 5, Meizu Pro 5. And obviously the first thing you do whenever anyone hands you a phone is you start swiping up and down and see how fast it is and what it feels like. And it's really, really nice. It feels lovely in the hand, and the performance is amazing. So after playing with someone else's phone, that's what made me buy one. So yeah, I ordered one, and I'll let you know more in depth when I get one and I'm not in a bar with a beer in my hand.
Hey. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I haven't got one, I haven't ordered one, but I've seen one in action, and I was pretty much blown away as well.
Cool. Okay, question from Biohazara. Are the Ubuntu software commercial dApps going to be ported to Snappy? If not, what's going to happen to the users' purchases in the Ubuntu Software Center? Unfortunately, we don't have Martin Albisetti here, who would be one of the best people to answer the question. I think, yeah, go ahead.
The best answer that we can give right now is that not all of the commercial dApps are going to be ported to Snappy. Essentially, it will be up to the app developers to do that port. In terms of users' purchases, I think they went up to 1404, and they will be available throughout the lifecycle of 1404, but they won't be automatically ported to 1604 unless the developer has taken the step of doing this snap port. If that port has happened, I cannot really give you an answer because I don't know how it will work, but I would think that there would be a mechanism for users not to have to pay for their apps again on the conversion from dApp to Snap. I think that would just be fair.
It's also worth noting that even though the default App Store in Ubuntu is now Ubuntu software based on GNOME software, the old Ubuntu Software Center is still in the archive. So you could install Ubuntu Software Center. However, Ubuntu Software Center for 1604 will only show you paid apps for 1604, but there is a way you can trick Ubuntu Software Center into showing you the store purchases that you had for previous releases. So for 1404 or 1204, I can't remember what the trick is. It's setting an environment variable. Now, get back to me later, and I'll try and find out what the environment variable is. You can do that, and while that may allow you to download the debs, it might actually not work because when we went from like 1204 to 1404 to 1604, there may have been some library changes on the platform that mean that those apps no longer work on 1604. So the developer would have to rebuild those apps anyway. There may be glibc changes or OpenGL changes or something that in between 1404 and 1604 that means those apps just wouldn't even work if you did get the deb. You might be in luck. You might be able to just install the Ubuntu Software Center, and you might be able to just run it with this special parameter, and it might just work, but probably not. And you're probably better off contacting the developer and saying, hey, have you heard about this new Snappy thing? You should put your app in the store, and get them to do that.
Yeah, also the process once you have snapped your software is much more enjoyable than it used to be, because you can just type snapcraft upload and the rest will happen on its own. Right, here's an evergreen of Q&A questions. Joey Wolfie Girl asks, HUD.
Joey Wolfie Girl is one of our regulars in the Q&A, and she's asking always lots of good questions. And of course, the HUD question is always featured as well. So essentially, right now, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to take that question this week. And in terms of the HUD, I'd say no changes since last time around. You've probably noticed that it wasn't featured in the presentation of the upcoming plans for 1604. Sorry, for 1610 and beyond. I know that the design team are looking at different ways of interacting with users from devices, but I don't really know the status of the HUD as it is right now.
Okay. Here's a question for Marius. Because Tiny Banana is asking, how hard is it to port Ubuntu to other phones? And are there any plans to port it to the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge?
That question really depends on what device it is. I would say first, it is. I won't lie, it is really hard to port. If you don't have experience with Android porting or Ubuntu in general, there's quite a lot of a learning curve you need to learn to port. But that's essentially what Ubuntu, the UBport project is wanting to change. We want to make the documentation better, make everything better, so developers can easily find documentation and learn faster on how to port. And also speaking about Samsung devices, especially Samsung devices have their own bootloader, which also make it a lot harder for us developers to develop to them. Especially tools like the Ubuntu device Flash won't work with those custom bootloaders, and it also makes the device more locked down. Every piece, especially Samsung device, things are not as open as an Nexus device is, so that's also a challenge. And also, will the Ubuntu Touch be ported to the Samsung? It really depends on what the interest in is in the device. If the device is a device that people are interested in and vote for it on, example, our page, we will port it if it's enough people want it.
The other problem is there's a ton of Samsung devices. Like,
yeah.
There's just so many of them, and you could vote for one of them, and then that gets replaced in 6 months by yet another Samsung device, or there could be 100 people who want some other Samsung device. There's just so many of them, and they are insanely popular. Many people see phones as either Apple phones or Samsung phones, not Apple or Android, but Apple or Samsung, and there's just a ton of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is from, quite a lot of them actually. Okay, so Ziga is asking a really good question actually. If I make a commercial snap, can I ask users to pay for upgrade across major version upgrades, for example? I think this would be another question where we would need the store guys. I think that's not supported right now. But there is support for in-app purchases, perhaps, that you could use as another way of implementing this. But I think we would really need Martin Albisetti or one of the engineers that are working on the Ubuntu store, I think the server side of things. Or does any of you guys know?
Well, what do people do on other platforms? They put game version 1 in the store, and then that's paid for whatever, and you might have a number of releases of that app and minor revisions which are supported for a certain period of time, and then if you want to put a new major release in the store, that would go in as a completely separate app, and so it would have its own pricing, its own support period, its own release process. So I don't think that there's anything we would need to do there, unless you wanted to handle people who've paid for the first version to upgrade to the second version.
Alrighty. Tiny Banana is asking, is Ubuntu tablet ready for my mom? Well, I would say it depends on the way your mom uses a tablet, and depends on whether your mom is like a power user or whether your mom is someone that uses the tablet strictly for surfing the web. So I'd say if you could specify that, perhaps then we can give you a better answer. On the more generic sort of answer, though, with the tablet today, you can use the Ubuntu browser. You can use Firefox, if I remember correctly. There are some traditional X apps which are installed, such as LibreOffice, GIMP, well, yes, Firefox again, and even the Ubuntu SDK. Let's say if she will be using any of those applications on a daily basis, then yes, then the Ubuntu tablet is definitely ready for your mom and everyone else. Okay. Sorry, I missed one question from Chloe Olfigel. I'm reminded. Any updated with the central messaging app with the XMPP / Jabber? I don't really have any updates on that one. Perhaps one of you guys.
There was mention of the messaging framework that's being updated in the platform. I think it was Alejandro mentioned it. I think it was at the top of one of the slides. So if you rewatch the previous session, I think they were talking about lots of different things related to messaging and voice over LTE as well. LTE. So there was a few things around that area that were mentioned.
Okay, I'll see if while we're looking at the next question, whether I can find the slides. Definitely, there's going to be work on the messaging framework. What I'm not too sure about is that particular application.
Next question was from Cheeseburg. What is the official way to test Unity 8 desktop today? Can it be tested in VirtualBox? So the way I went about it was to install Xenial. I had it running already. Then install the Unity 8 desktop session nil package, which pulls in everything you need. So you can just in LightDM pick Unity 8 as a session and then try it out that way. What I'm not too sure about is if it's going to work in VirtualBox. Do any of you guys know if that's going to work with Mir and VirtualBox?
VirtualBox does not currently have support video driver for Mir, so it won't work right now.
There you go. But if you have Xenial running already, just install the other package. There's not going to be any conflicts. Should be just fine.
Yeah, I mean the concept of having to install it on VirtualBox might have come from the past, and when I say the past, I mean at least 2 releases ago, where if you install the Unity 8 session, it could break your other Unity 7 session horribly. Nowadays, it's no longer the case. We did have even an LXC container-based session, which we've now deprecated, just because we don't want to maintain, or not that we don't. For one, it might be confusing for users to have 2 different methods of installing the Unity session, and then having 2 different methods means as well that there's double of the maintenance work. So we've settled for the regular Unity 8 session installation, which means that you get that extra entry on your welcome screen where you can choose to log into Unity 8, and that's the recommended way of doing it.
One thing to note there, it will work in VMware and QEMU. So you can alternatively test it there.
Cool. Nice.
Chloe is asking, will there be a convergent app store, or do you plan to just keep a scope and GNOME software? Well, as far as I know, it's going to continue to be a scope, but scopes are going to change quite a lot this cycle. There is tomorrow a session about scopes design and how it's going to evolve. So I'm going to paste the link on IRC. And there should be a lot to discover in this session. It will be with the lead designer on the project, which is Patricia Davila, sorry. And yeah, most of your scopes question will be answered here, and it will be more, let's say, more suitable as an app store. Email is asking, will Ubuntu Software Center be continued in 1610 or GNOME Software Center is the future? I think we're going to stick with GNOME Software Center on Unity 7.
Yeah, so essentially what we've done this cycle, and this cycle meaning 1604, we've migrated from the Ubuntu Software Center to the new Ubuntu software, which also features support via plugin, or will very soon feature support with the plugin for snaps as well. When we talk about Ubuntu software, you'll see this mentioned in conjunction with GNOME software as well. Essentially, Ubuntu software is a branded version of GNOME software, and when I say branded, I don't mean that the store has been changed in any way. It's just the name, essentially. We had a discussion with the upstream developers, and they very kindly agreed for us to change the name to the Ubuntu Center. Sorry, to Ubuntu software, so that the users get a more integrated experience when working with Ubuntu and using all of the tools to install software. And yeah, as we've said before in the Q&A, Ubuntu software, the old Ubuntu Software Center is still in the archive, meaning that you can install it, but by default you get Ubuntu software the new way installed on any new system where you install 1604 and then 1610 going forward.
Right. I think the next question was from Chloe Wolfiger. Are you bribing bigger companies for softwares? No. We have never done that, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, that's the answer.
There are ongoing discussions. I mean, not as Daniel is saying, not bribing them, but we've got a business development team in Canonical, and these are people who always who are continuously talking to these big companies, or perhaps not as big, but well-known companies who are well-known publishers of the or authors of applications in other platforms. Sometimes these conversations work really well. Sometimes they take longer. Some of the results that you see from this conversation, for example, is that Cut the Rope is available in all of our BQ, at least Ubuntu phones. But sometimes, as the conversation with WhatsApp, they take longer, especially if they've got a particular way of controlling the usage of their API and their clients.
Yeah, the next question would also be one from Martin Albisetti. And I talked to him yesterday. It looks like the store team is still busy landing 500 things at the same time. They're super busy, but in next week we're going to have a session with the store folks, so we're going to answer all the questions there. This particular one was about when we're going to see a web-based store like Google Play. And I don't have an answer to that. Do any of you guys have any details?
Not right now, but I would, as always, I'd point to uappexplorer.com, which is Brian Douglas's project to provide a front end to discover, browse, and install snaps, apps, and scopes on the phone and tablet, and probably even soon desktop. Well, given the fact that it already features snaps. This is a community-led project. Brian has created this initiative on his own completely, and with help from some other community members. And it's a really nice example where community jumps in, where there's a gap where Canonical might not be working on. It's a way of showing as well how the community, well, how the sum of every part helps us closing all of those gaps. All right, next question is from Sergio. Just as to give some context, Sergio is Sergio Spetzel. He's one of the Snapcraft developers. He's one of the most active Snappy/Snapcraft developers as well. He's been responsible for bringing Snapcraft to you. And he's asking, when is WhatsApp coming to Ubuntu? And I'd say, well, Sergio, as soon as you snap it. All right, next question from Diddledan. With the current state of running graphical displays and apps on Snappy Core, I'm not quite sure I understand the question simply because of the reference to Snappy Core. I mean, this might be referring to Snappy Ubuntu Core on devices, and when I'm talking about devices, I'm talking about IoT devices, the Raspberry Pi, the Beagle Blackbone, and so on. So I'm not sure I'm the best indicated person to answer that one. What I will answer though is that with snaps on the desktop, where you get on 16.04 Ubuntu Core installed on the desktop, you can then install on top of that any graphical applications, and you'll get them running. So there's no issues there. Although a caveat is that we still don't have a driver for NVIDIA proprietary drivers. Sorry, we don't have applications. We don't have a driver for NVIDIA for Ubuntu Core. Does any of you guys know more context about the Snappy on devices side of things?
Yeah, on developer Ubuntu.com, you can go to the Snappy section, then go to guides, and then there's an article about mere snaps. That's probably the closest we have right now. They should give you instructions on how to get Mir up and running. Yeah, talk to the Mir team. Like, I think it was Kevin who wrote the article. Get in touch with him if it doesn't work for you. All right, Ivo Xavier asking, 1 year after the first Ubuntu phone, but we still need some apps. How much impact could this make in Ubuntu? It depends on the usage that you make of the phone, I would say, as well. In my case, when I migrated from Android, there weren't that many apps that I was missing. One was Maps, but now we've got really awesome UNAV app that covers my needs. Another one was WhatsApp, which many of my friends use, and it's, to be honest, it's difficult to make them migrate to Telegram. However, what I've gotten used to is to use the web version of WhatsApp on my computer, to be honest.
I think the important bit is that we're making more and more convergence being the differentiator with other platforms, and it being what's making Ubuntu more attractive to users. As you've seen, if you've been following the opening session of the online summit, you might have seen that we've got the first convergent device in the market, and we're progressing in making the whole of the code base of Ubuntu just one, to make this or to extend this to the desktop as well, which is when you will get the whole convergent experience. So I'd say our focus right now is not on more apps, even though this is something that we're looking at in any case, but it's more about making conversions happen. Yeah, that's my own opinion. You guys might have some other views. All right, then perhaps we can take it to the next question. Chloe Wolfigel asks, "What app do you miss from Android or want to see the most on Ubuntu phone?" I think I kind of answered that one. Perhaps I'll step away and let the other guys answer.
Well, for me, it's been so long well, I haven't used an Android phone in a very long time. Ubuntu is my daily driver has been my daily driver for quite some time now, so I couldn't say. Maybe a native YouTube app, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, same here. So there's
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Daniel, you were saying.
No, it's fine. Like, I think we have a bunch of other questions queued up, so
Yeah, let's get to the other one. Okay, so what do we have next? What are your daily driver phones? In my case, it's a BQ 4.5 Ubuntu edition, which I very, very, very proudly bought on the second flash sale. It was like a moment of triumph for me, as in being able to buy an Ubuntu phone after the hard work that many people, well, including our team as well, had put into making it happen. That was like to be honest, one of my most memorable memories of Ubuntu.
Mine was an MX4 until I sat on it and broke it, and so it's currently in this state and needs a screen replacement. But I'm not brave enough to replace the screen on this. I have one, but I'm not brave enough to. Yeah, so I'm going to take it to a friend of mine and get it fixed. So in the meantime, I have a OnePlus X, and I will switch to the Pro 5 when it arrives soon.
an MX4 I didn't sit on.
Yeah, I can recommend not sitting on your MX4. That's probably a good idea.
Not yet.
I have a unsit Nexus 5 but I'm switching phones faster than I know it myself. So, but currently I use the Nexus 5 Ubuntu Touch running on it.
Well, how's the Nexus? I'm gonna hijack the question for a second. How good is the Nexus 5 port at the moment?
Oh, I just ported it to 5.1, and now it's pretty good shape. Much better battery than 4.4. But with 4.4, it works excellently, perfectly well. It works so well that I use it for a daily driver. So.
Oh wow. Cool. Sorry, David, I interrupted you. You were showing a nice looking device.
No worries. Nice looking now. It's a Nexus 4 which has been sat on a lot of times, and I just replaced the stream like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it's a steady device and it's working great.
Okay, so just to clarify any misunderstandings, at Ubuntu, sitting on phone is not something that we do to test them.
I do.
I will send my ports to Alan when I need them sit tested.
You're welcome. Yeah, everyone send me your phones and I'll sit on them. Sitting on phones as a service.
Maybe you can integrate that in Marvin.
Okay, yeah, SOP AS. Nice. All right, next question.
Next one is from Just Caracas. Sorry if already asked. Will there be another color of the profile? I tweeted to Canonical and Meizu, but they seem to be ignoring me. I think the current color is gold, that's right?
The Pro 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, currently there's only a gold device on sale. I think there's a cultural difference between devices that go on sale in the Far East and devices in Europe, and over here where it's common for people to avoid the color gold when purchasing phones. So, and Meizu being a Chinese company, they often cater to their local market where gold is quite popular, apparently. But they're aware of this. I don't know if that means there will be other color devices. I know some people have expressed interest in buying the Android version of the Pro 5 and then flashing Ubuntu on it, but I don't know if that's even possible or a good idea, because many devices that come from there are locked down, and it's difficult to know whether they're unlockable when you buy it until it arrives, and then you find out you can't.
Looks like the Notes app is asking a question. I know Ubuntu and cloud storage is off, but would it be great if you returned so I can store my Note owners there? Aha. I don't think Ubuntu One is returning as a cloud storage, but I might be wrong.
Nope. No plan to.
Yeah.
All right. I think it might be what might be worth exploring is other backends such as OnCloud. I know that there's been some discussion on the mailing list, so I don't think we can just make an announcement here. I'm just saying that this might be an alternative that you might want to consider.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the bugs for the Notes app earlier, and there have been requests to sync to various backends. The Notes app was pretty heavily designed around Evernote syncing, so I think it might be tricky to do. It might be easier for someone to just create their own Notes app, which syncs to whatever backend service, and maybe reuse some of the UI components, maybe reuse parts of the Notes app. But I think it would be tricky for us to add like lots of other backend syncing services, because it was never designed that way. It was always designed pretty much just for Evernote or local notes. But if someone wants to volunteer to do that, that would be great.
All right, we've got really a bunch of questions right now, and we've got, I don't think even 15 minutes left, because I think we finished 5 minutes earlier. So perhaps we could just pick the questions and let's answer them as quickly as possible. I'm just going to go ahead and take the next one. There's actually a question from Marius. Will the dev version of an app be hidden from the Software Center when a snap version is available? I don't think we've got the UI designed for that yet, but the idea is that to make it very, very clear to users that there will be another a newer version installable as a snap. I think for users it should be transparent whether the update is or the update is a snap or a dep. For them, it should be only interesting to see that there's a new version, and they should be able to install it. Anyone wants to take the next question about the Meizu Pro 5?
What's the question?
Amar is asking, will the Meizu Pro 5 Ubuntu Edition be sold in the variant with 4 GB RAM?
You'd have to ask Meizu. We don't decide what hardware the partners choose to sell. That's entirely up to them. And the best people to ask is Meizu themselves.
All right. So Ofigal is asking, which Ubuntu animal would you let in your house, and does Mark own a zoo? You know, some really strangely named animals.
Well, my bathtub is too small for a narval, but so I will pick a pangolin.
I will pick a jackalope because they don't exist, so I wouldn't have to pick up their poo because they don't exist.
Smart.
I would take a unicorn. Might can sell it for a lot of money.
All right, and I would take a karmic koala. I was really impressed by the change that we make, as in bringing design into the world of Linux. I think that was remarkable.
Yeah, I think I would take
your cats are
sorry,
cute.
go ahead. Yeah, nice pick. I think I would take the hedgehog because I'm old school. Right. Ivo Xavier is asking, the current marketing of Ubuntu devices Pro 5 and M10 shows a different design of scopes, for example, the Today scope. Are those the scopes 2.0?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Chloe Wolfie Girl is asking, when Unity 8 will be default, do you think there will be more opportunities to sell laptops in physical stores? I could imagine that that's heavily going to depend on how stable and great everything is working. Ubuntu laptops are already in displays in stores, but mostly that's in India and in China and elsewhere. So, answer. Nathan, do you want to take your own question?
The one about Steam?
Yeah.
Well, it was an honest question. I don't know. Valve ships some really old versions of the C libraries, standard C libraries, clearly for Ubuntu 12.04, and that hasn't been updated. And so Steam just doesn't run on a lot of systems out of the box. Sometimes a proprietary graphics driver, for some reason, will fix that, but a lot of people have to go and start deleting or renaming just libgc standard 6. And I hope that Valve decides to do something about this at some point, or that someone at Canonical pokes Valve, because it's a really easy fix, but it's a really lousy experience. So
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea to poke them, like Steam users poking them.
Got a bug for it?
Sorry?
what's that?
We have a bug for it.
That's a good question. Where would one file a bug? If someone has a third-party application, like in the partner repository, there's a bug in it. Where do you report that sort of thing?
Good question.
Steam has a GitHub page where I handle bugs.
That's a good point. Yeah, they do.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that might be the
They're-
places as well.
Yeah, they're really responsive on GitHub too, especially early on. So I don't follow Steam development, but I've seen some really nice interactions. So maybe I will start harassing people. But yeah, GitHub I think for Steam might be a good place to start. So thank you.
Cool. All right. So that's the spirit, Nathan. Asking the question and finding out and taking the lead to fix it. So,
Yeah.
all right. So,
And usually the answer is that I get to do the things that make it fixed, but because of free software, I can. So it's not too bad.
all right. Okay. Cool. So I just realized I missed a question from Cheeseburg. He was asking, will the Unity 8 Snap Store be able to do firmware and OS updates like GNOME software? I would say we're still in early days to define the features of the well, I don't want to call it a Snap Store because there will be in the end just one store to rule them all, or rather one client to rule them all. So I cannot really answer the question about firmware OS updates. I think that the initial features will be to install and remove, discover apps, including free, as in gratis apps, and paid for applications. I think being able to install firmware updates would be something that that could come along in later cycles. But this might be worth asking on the hash Ubuntu dash desktop channel. Perhaps Will Cook or Sep128 might know more about that, or even Aleku as well. All right. Okay. Just trying to see if we've missed any other one. Chloe Wolfigel is asking when will Unity 8 be the default, and do you think there will be more opportunity? Oh, sorry, tackled that one already. Sep is asking, I have come late here, but yes, who is looking forward to Ubuntu 16.10 and why? Any takers?
Snappy. Obviously.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to 16.10, and I'm looking forward to seeing a more polished Unity 8 session.
Same.
Pretty happy with 16.04 for the time being. So I think I'm going to enjoy this for another month or two before I start thinking my computer is running too well. Maybe I should upgrade and fix that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I do this every LTS. I promise to myself I'm going to stick on the LTS, and then someone makes some suggestion that I should upgrade to the next non-LTS release. And yeah, I'm right. Set the timer now. I'm promising now. I'm going to stay on 16.04. See when I upgrade.
Alan, you should upgrade.
I'm hoping Snappy can delay that for me. I probably will upgrade, but I like the idea. I may not have to, so we'll see how that works.
All right. So Sep is asking, what can the community do to encourage more apps to be made for Ubuntu Touch? What's available in the store is still quite lacking, really. I think one thing that you can do as a user is to share your experiences with the existing apps, share how they are working in a convergent environment, and if you're a developer, I would say either write your own app, but perhaps the easier way, especially if you're learning, is to join an existing app team and help them make their app even more awesome. As an example, we've got Podbird, which is a podcast application, who's, I'd say, it's even better than their Android and iOS counterparts. Although I won't comment on iOS, I've never used it before. Or Yuna, for example. These are really good examples of community apps which are really, really successful. And they've got a team of developers who really do awesome things. All right, so I think we've pretty much run out of time. What do you guys think? Do you want to to pick one last one to wrap it up. Any favorites?
So Chloe Wolfigirl asked, when will I be able to run Ubuntu Touch on my OnePlus X? And I'm going to throw that at you, Marius.
Actually, you can do it now. Yeah. You can run it right now, but it has no Wi-Fi. Only screen is working. So you have to live offline for. So, yeah, but I'm working on it. Hopefully soon.
Excellent. Good answer. Thank you.
Nice.
Right, so I think that was a really nice way of wrapping up. So thank you everyone who have been asking questions. Sorry if we couldn't get into all of them. There were lots and lots of good ones as well. But you'll have another opportunity as well on the next Q&A coming up next week. We've got a weekly community team Q&A where you can always ask your questions about free software, Ubuntu, and anything that we can answer that it's not tiny hot support, essentially. Thanks also to our stellar guests, Marius Gripsgaard or Mario Grip on IRC, and Nathan Haynes. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, David, for being there as, every week. And well, let's say I'd recommend you to check what's next on summit.ubuntu.com, and we'll probably see you there. Enjoy. Bye.
Hey everyone.
See you guys.
Bye everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.